Alright, timestamp. It's April 18th at like 9:30 p.m. Gonna be going to bed here pretty soon. I think we have a shift in the morning. We were supposed to work this morning, but I stayed home. We stayed home and made phone calls. Health check. Anxiety. Oh dear God in heaven. I've only experienced this for the past like 2 years. Sadly, I don't have the receipt, so I can't take it back. I understand a little better what my wife has gone through most of her life. This sucks. Tightness of the chest, pounding, shortness of breath every now and then. But I don't think it's physical. I don't think it's the emphysema. I think it's... Oh, yeah, I guess explaining the reason would be good. We won the case. Felt like John Cleese since Tuesday. I won the case. You can Google that if you want. It's fine. One of my favorite movies. He says it a couple times, and his wife just like doesn't care anyway. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. So, I am now. That's Sammy drinking loudly. My God, boy. That's the dog we inherited as a puppy from my dad. Backstory on that, real quick, just because it's a fun story. He's a good pup. So, and I don't know if I told you this one before or not. If I did, I apologize. Mom was in the hospital. It's 2023, and she had been in the hospital for a while. And my dad was going out of his mind for loneliness reasons, other than just the dementia. So my mom, because she was making sense at that point, there were no fish people, said, get Dad a puppy. Because they had a Chihuahua for years named Annie, and she passed, and he still was upset about that, and it had been a couple years. Which, you know what, I get it. I miss Lorgia. I buried Rudy earlier this year, and one of our other cats had been with us for like 12 years. I've been there. So we said, okay, we'll take him to go get a puppy, and we'll make sure it's, a critter that we can all agree on, because any puppy that you guys get may become our dog in time. So we picked out, there were a bunch of critters at the Humane Society we went to, and my wife and my dad both kind of agreed on one puppy. It wasn't the one that I wanted, but that's okay. There was another puppy there that was like eyeballing me, and I was eyeballing him, but it wasn't meant to be. So my dad adopted this puppy, and was his doggy dad, and was not doing right by the dog, in that he wasn't house training him. Just, wherever he wants to pee or poop is fine with him. He'll just giggle and point. It's like regression. What is that? He did feed him kibble, and also microwave dinners, Oreos, ice cream. And one of his excuses was, I gave my dog, he had a dog, Spotty, when he was a kid. Had him for, I think, 14, 15 years. His first dog, long lived, all that. He's like, I gave my dog ice cream right off the cone. Yeah, I believe you, but I think 1940s, 1950s ice cream is probably made of different stuff than the ice cream today. Just saying. So we were kind of displeased with him on that one. But also the puppy started getting bigger. He's not huge. He's medium to large. He's probably 40 pounds. But my mom, when she saw pictures, was like, oh no, that's way too big. I wanted something small. And it's like, well, finding a Chihuahua at the Humane Society is really hard because they tend to get snatched up really fast. We got him a puppy, we did our job, and she said, well, he needs to go home with you by the time I get out of here because he's just too big to handle. It's like, well, he wouldn't be too big to handle if he was being trained properly. And Pix was actually working with him and trying to get preliminaries, house training and basics and stuff. But a month or so later, we brought home Sammy. And he's a very, very well-behaved young man. Not quite two, coming up on it. But yeah, he's our dog. But I'm glad that he had bonded with my dad and my wife, because it's when a pup bonds, it's kind of hard to take him away from the person they're bonded with. I mean, it's not hard to do it, it's just really hard to start over with the puppy and try and train it, because it's like, you're the step parent. It wants its real parent back. But he's doing pretty good. So anyway, that happened. Catch you up. So she has a dog, and I have my Scrappy Acorn, who is 7 months old, probably 20. They sleep in crates overnight because we don't want them getting into incredible amounts of mischief, and they would. We'll be able to free range them once they're both better trained and all that. But yeah, Scrappy Acorn is about 7 months, and he's about as big as a large beagle, but he has shepherd markings. I think Dad was a shepherd. He's got that little wispy thing on the end of his tail, and the little notch thingy going on with the ears and the brown and black. But he does kind of look like Scrappy, or like a little Scooby. It's cute. He's my buddy, and he's going to be going with me when the next phase of our operation goes into play. But anyway, I'm now the proud owner of a 1940 German engineered Vietnam veteran. Here's the trick, though. I am legally his guardian, which is still really weird to say out loud. But now I have to get him into long-term placement. That's what the court asked me, agreed with, and basically said, okay, get it done. So I'm working with the VA right now. I called Dr. Baker and said, I'm the guardian now. Yay. Can we find a place for him before somebody gets hurt? Because that's really the bottom line right now. He's an angry, paranoid vet. He's now barricading the front door, apparently, and sneaking out the back door when he goes like down the street to the store like he's not supposed to, etc. Doesn't want anybody there. And he is sitting on at least 50 guns with 1,000 rounds of ammunition. And I'm afraid if this goes sideways, he's going to treat that house like the Alamo. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm not being crazy on this. He could, and he's a very resourceful man, even if his brain is broken. And that kind of makes it worse, really. So I'm trying to negotiate with various organizations and or peoples and try and figure out a way to get him out of that house unarmed and in the possession of the VA, basically, without anybody getting shot or maimed. Him included. I'd rather he not get hurt either. But the possibility is very real, and I don't want somebody that wasn't already involved with this winding up having a life-changing event. You know what I mean? I don't want a sheriff deputy, getting shot. I don't want the neighbor getting shot. I don't want anybody getting shot. So we're trying to figure out how. And when I say the next phase of the operation, once he's out, on even the most remote possibility that Mom can go home, because she's still in a rehab center currently. They still have the bedbug situation. They still have a lanai ceiling that's being held up by a couple of 2x4s. Compliments of Hurricane Milton. We've got one health issue, one safety issue, both of which are considered game changers. And the various organizations that have said this aren't necessarily wrong. You know, bedbugs are a thing. And having a 50-foot long metal roof that could collapse if someone sneezes wrong, yeah, okay, that could be a safety concern. So my mom can't come home with the house in the condition that it's in. Both those things, plus there's a septic tank issue. There's a few other like safety and health things that somebody's got to resolve. And some of these things have been going wrong for a while. And my mom not making great choices, my dad not making great choices, haven't fixed. So who's got to do that? This guy. So as a Capricorn, it's going to be a lot easier for me to camp there. Even if I'm sleeping on the couch and taking a hot shower to wash the bed bugs off in the morning. But then I can just kind of get up, work on stuff. Plus the hoarding issue, that was another thing that's been flagged by every agency, is the fact that the place is a cluttered mess. So, you know, go to sleep on the couch, get up, start throwing things away, start going through things, start calling contractors and say, hey, you guys do like porch kind of stuff, right? Here's what I've got going on. Could you come out and maybe, you know, reattach this to the house? That'd be swell. You know, the pool is an algae farm. Robert Heinlein would be impressed. We can put that on a spaceship and eat and breathe for years. But my mom is supposed to be exercising. So I've got to get that cleaned. And that's minor compared to some of the other things that are going wrong there. I can't even start until the man that is angry and armed is somewhere not there. She is, it was funny too, because in the hearing, his counsel even admitted she wasn't at the place, but she had visited with my dad for an hour, like the day prior, and she confirmed that the place was terrifying. And my dad told her at least that he has 70 plus guns in his workshop. And I guess she got a tour because she was like, yeah, there could be, I don't know, I couldn't really get far into the workshop. So if he has them, if he has some way of getting to them, then yeah, he has 70 guns at his disposal. That I won't argue that point. And he seemed pretty sure that he had it. So sure, he has guns. It's like, okay, that's 70 rifles. We already know that he has like a dozen plus handguns because they were piled on the bed when DCF came out to say hi. So there's, if that's accurate, there's 80 plus guns. And on a humorous note, the 70 guns that are in the workshop, if you remember, in October or November, my autistic kid and my wife apparently broke into his gun locker and stole 20 rifles. So does that mean he had 90? Or do we now know that didn't happen? Anyway, I'm trying not to be bitter. It's really hard. I want to make sure he's treated with respect, mercy, and all that. And just being human in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah. Based on, because family friend Chuck is still able to go over there without fear of bullet currently. That could change, who knows. I guess my dad, Chuck was gathering up the mail for us because we're still working on getting power of attorney through their bank account so we can start paying bills because mom can barely write her name, much less fill out a check, so somebody's got to pay the bills. And this particular bank is notoriously slow at granting power of attorney, even though all my paperwork is accurate. But Chuck was collecting all the bills and stuff so we could actually figure out what the hell's going on. And my dad was like, if you're not taking that to Sandy, who are you taking that to? And he said, well, I'm taking it to Mark and Kelly because they're the ones trying to handle this stuff. And I guess he slammed his hand down on the table and was like, I don't want Kelly anywhere near her. She's the reason for all this. It's like, and I guess Chuck was like, dude, they're actually on your side. I know you don't believe that, but they are. And they're the ones that are trying to get this stuff done. But he doesn't get it. He's made her to be the villain. And I may or may not be the villain, depending on what day of the week it is. But she's the villain on any day that ends in Y. And if she goes anywhere near there, if he has that moment, she's getting shot. And my dad doesn't miss. And I'd rather not have that happen. I kind of like the girl. Well, been together 29 years. It's a terrifying notion. But yeah, I'd rather her not get shot. Yeah, because he'll hit. And she might live, she might not, So, there's that. Gotta get him out of there. Oh, and the clock is ticking on the amount of days my mom can spend in rehab. It's 30-something now, so. And then also the permanent hearing, because this is just an emergency temporary guardianship. The permanent hearing is supposed to be in about 30 days, so my clock is like 30 days, basically, to get him placed. Which I'm not worried about them going, oh no, he's actually fine, he can go home. I'm not worried about that, because I have seen the crazy up close and personal, and they will too. But my mom has nowhere to go until I get those things fixed. Now the other day, talking to her at the hospital, at the rehab, whatever, because I was like, you kind of need 24/7 medical at this point. Do you want to go with Dad? Because I've got to put him in a home, or the state will. And she was strangely like cordial, just like, that would be nice, actually. It's like, wait a minute, you just said you're okay with okay, let me see what I can do. So I've got to get my dad placed, and hopefully if I can find a +1 arrangement, get my mom transferred to where he is. Got that Next Generation episode in my head, Moriarty and his girl, in the shuttle. It's kind of what I've got to be able to do here. Was it Ship in a Bottle? I forget what the name of that episode was. It's a good episode, though. Again, Google it. So, that's my homework. Working my part-time gig until I can make this happen. And then that's my full-time gig. And luckily, we've sandbagged a fair amount of cash. Not, millions or anything like that, but we've sandbagged a fair amount of cash over the past year or so, because we saw this day coming. So we've got stuff to live on while we get everything in place. We didn't exactly see this day coming, to be clear, but we knew, some variation of this was going to be happening. I wish we were on friendlier terms, but the dementia has made it to where he doesn't understand. He just sees us as the villains. He doesn't realize that the state wants to put him in a home. And so far, if I had done nothing, that's what would have happened, and my mom would probably be being charged. If I do this right, I can get them both in a home together, and my mom doesn't get charged with anything. If I do this right. I think I can. there are a lot of things recently that I never thought I'd be able to say or that I'd ever see in my lifetime, you know. Just the idea that I'm my dad's guardian is really kind of surreal. It's kind of, yeah. This is going to be a fun week. So, what'd you do today? It's funny, I'll meet somebody in the wild, you know, one of my coworkers or something like that, and they'll ask, you know, how are things? I'm like, you really want to know what's going on? Oh, I do. And I'll start, and like 3 sentences in, I can see their eyes kind of glaze over, like, holy shit. This is interesting, but I'm also kind of sorry I asked. It's like, next time you'll be careful, won't you? This is not me complaining, by the way. This is me updating. This is definitely one of the stranger puzzles I've been handed. I'm really not sure. I'm hoping that Dr. Baker can help me on this. He said he was going to tug on some strings that he had and see what he came up with. We are going into the weekend, though, so getting information, phone calls, feedback from any government agency on the weekend can be rather impossible most of the time. So we'll see what happens. Oh, coffee check. This is Harry and David Breakfast Blend. Just sticking with the basics right now. So good, but you know. My Major Havoc mug, because that's kind of where my brain is right now. This was a great video game back in the day. It's like Vector Art Atari, but it had a sense of humor about it. It was just fun. I'm looking up, there's probably a playthrough on YouTube or something. But the character, if you didn't do anything, kind of like Link with like Ocarina and whatnot, if you don't do anything for a couple seconds, he kind of taps his foot, puts his hand on his hip, and it's like, you know, that kind of thing. It's funny. But yeah, neat game. One that I would eventually love to get. It'd be cool to find one like restored. It's got an unusual control panel and whatnot, so it's not, you know, just a basic Pac-Man or Space Invaders rig. It's got like a dial and some other stuff. It's different. Tempest kind of spinner dial. But because we have saved up some cash, because my mom was throwing us money every month, but we didn't actually really need it because of the other stuff we had going on. So we just kind of been sandbagging it. And that's something that I talked to Pix about. I'm like, look, if I do get in place and all that, I am getting a machine. Because everybody's lecturing me about my work life, the fact that I need to actually have a work-life balance. And I said, there's a machine that I'm getting. It's going to cost a couple $1,000, and you're gonna have to suck it, like flame suck it. And she was like, that's fine. Just, you know, make sure that I'm able to get some of the Monster High dolls that I want. And I was like, you know what? Deal. We're such dorks. I know that. It's okay. Not an apology. I'm quite okay with it. Anyway, I'm gonna try and get some sleep. I'm not expecting any phone calls from anybody helpful over the weekend, but it'd be swell if it happened. Otherwise, we'll probably be looking at engaging in our operation on Monday, just because we're not going to be able to get anything done. Saturday, Sunday, you know, getting a call from, you get me. Good luck with that. So, anyway, that's where I am. Another update coming. Make it a great day.